Hey guys, Rochelle here with Amethyst Ascension. If you are new here, welcome. And if you are returning, thank you so much for joining me again. So I have another video that I wanted to make, and I've been actually wanting to do this for a while. So I decided to just go for it. You know, I'm just recording a bunch, and then whenever they get released, they get released. So this one is my top 10 ways to bond with a deck. So the top 10 ways that I have bonded with decks. So the first one is do a cleansing. These are not in like level of importance or, you know, level of order or anything like that. These are just things that I have done. Okay. So, and while I'm doing that, I'm going to show you the Bonefire Tarot by Gabby Angus West. All right, and I've got a series of, well, 10 things. So the first thing is, in order to bond with a deck, one second. Okay, I wanted to grab it out so that I can actually show you what I do. So I've created myself a consecration incense, loose incense. And I love to run my deck after which I'll show you. This stuff smells so good. Oh my gosh. And it creates a lot of smoke. So I like to run my cards through the consecration incense while I have good intentions, and I can set intentions with my deck and erase any negative feelings that I might have. Let's say that a deck got lost in shipping, or you had a poor communication with customer service, or something that just started you off like bad, you know, that put like bad mojo on your deck. So I like to run it through each card as I'm looking at each card, and run it through the incense and putting on, you know, changing the mojo that I have for it. This can work also if this was a used deck, or if you got a deck that came in that you have bad feelings towards. So before I use my witch woman in total control of herself, I'm going to consecrate the whole thing because of the bad feelings that I have for this deck. Because I want to use the deck. I do. You guys know how I feel about how everything went down. So that's one of the ways that I like to bond with my deck. We'll just set this over while I still continue to show you guys the cards. So I do like creating loose incense. Here's one that I made for pure prosperity. Oh my gosh, it smells so good. And here's an ultimate protection one. There's so much like sage and frankincense and myrrh, and what else in there? Garden sage, Palo Santo, frankincense, myrrh, and rose petals to incorporate love. And it's my ultimate protection loose incense. And I've got the Vision loose incense. I like to burn this when I am doing tarot readings to open up my third eye. It smells so good. Oh my gosh, it smells so good. And I don't remember offhand everything that's in this. I know there's eight herbs. But anywho, I've got it somewhere. So I like to create loose incense and run my cards through right after you get it, especially like I said, if there is some hard feelings, or, you know, bad shipping or whatever. So I like to run each one through it That's one of the first things that I do. So another thing that I do is a good interview spread and record it down so that you can go back to exactly what the deck told you from the very beginning, you know? And you know what? It's never too late to do that. Now, I just created the massive deck organizer digital planner, and that's what I plan on doing, is going back through and doing all new interview spreads and recording them down, putting pictures, extra info about the decks. I also suggest doing something like that to really connect with your decks. The Hanged Man. So, number 3, do a video walkthrough or flip through and then rewatch it. Every time I do a walkthrough, which is also part of my process with a lot of my decks and has been, I've got tons of walkthroughs on my channel, because not only do I find them extremely valuable because I love to purchase new tarot decks, but when I watch other people go through their own, if it's just music, I might see something in the cards that I didn't see before. But if it is, you know, them reviewing it and talking about their first impressions as they're going through the deck, you see something new in it. It's very easy to see something new. So I like to actually record them and watch them back and look at what my initial impressions were. So that's another good way of bonding. 4, find a special spot or a special, create a special housing. Now you can purchase housings, or you can make them, like a special box that you make for them, or a special bag that you make for housing them. That's another way of really bonding. You know, the time that it takes to pick out the perfect thing, or, you know, create the perfect bag that you house it in. It's another great way in order to bond with your deck. Or how you have them displayed. You know, do you have them in certain categories in your room, or certain decks by certain decks? It's all part of, it can all be part of that bonding experience. And it has been for me. This is quite the deck. So, this is also when you could pair it with a crystal. I very rarely, as much as I love crystals, I very rarely pair mine with crystals. Unless I'm actually working with them, and let's say I'm doing some readings and I've got a few decks that I'm working with, especially like when I've done live readings, I will put like selenite on top of it in order to keep it cleansed while I might be using another one, or in between. So if I'm, you know, after I've laid the pile down, I might use like selenite or black tourmaline or whatever. Another way is by modifying my deck. I think that that is a great way to bond with your deck. So if you don't feel adventurous enough in order to cut the corners, or I mean, cut the, you know, the borders off, if you don't like the borders, let's say, for instance, you don't like the way something is, the corners are rounded. Maybe they're too squared off. You can take just a rounder or a corner cutter and make them rounder. And it can change the whole energy of that deck. Make it less sharp for you. Maybe if it's got metal gilding and you don't like metal gilding, just take off a little bit of the edges and put a different color. Just adding a color, you know, to your deck can give it can be a bonding experience while you're doing the whole thing. So I love to modify my stuff. So number 6, do some storytelling with your deck. Now this can be in a big way, like my previous video that I just shown. And the new series that I'm doing, or just started, called Storytime, a tarot adventure. I'm going to be coming up with different stories where it leads the person that wants to partake, including myself, on a little journey to see what they see in the cards. But I don't know if you remember this, but a few years ago on Instagram and in my tarot group, or my Facebook group, I would do these exercises with people. I would lay down 3 cards and I would ask people, tell me what story the cards reveal to you. Just 3 cards. So another way of bonding really well with your deck is just let it tell you stories. You can be, an example, let's say your husband is playing video games and he wants you in there with him and you want to spend time with him, but maybe you're a little bit bored. So you pull out your tarot decks and you sit next to him, maybe pull out a tray, or if you're at a table, and you just start doing stories. Tell me what you see, you know? And then you don't have to even record them. Nothing like that. Just, what do they show me? What are these 3 cards showing me? And try that with different decks and stuff. But when you're trying to bond with a particular deck, just let it tell you stories. So those can be big stories or little stories. So the next one, the next prompt is 7. Just play with your deck. Do a bunch of fun spreads and or exercises with it. So there are different tarot books out now, like Tarot Playbook, like, oh gosh, I should have grabbed them. I've got a few of them that have just fun spreads, like 365 days of spreads. I think that's by Sasha Graham. There's some really cool, like, this day in 1950, blah, 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 blah. Here's a 5-card spread for it, or whatever, you know. Do that. Other things that you can do is, like the video that I made with surviving a zombie apocalypse, or how well would you fare? Would you survive an alien invasion? Or playing like Clue kind of thing with your cards, or doing tarot haikus, creating poems about each card. Those are all wonderful ways to bond with a new deck. So, number 8. Another thing that I absolutely love doing, and I do this a lot actually, I will, because I love shuffling my cards. I think shuffling the cards is a really big way to bond with it. But what I'll do is shuffle, and then I will put them all back in order again. And I like, granted, maybe not everybody likes that, but I feel like as you're doing that, and I'll make piles, the major arcana, then I'll do the wands, then the cups, then the swords, then the pentacles, because that's the order in which I see them. So I will put them all in order, do the piles first, and then I put them in numerical order. And as I'm doing that, that also helps as you read the stories of each of the, you know, the suits in order, and how they play themselves out, because you can even lay them out and see how, you know, they play themselves out. But also for those people that are having a difficulty, especially when you're brand new, remembering the order of the major arcana. I know that there's people that still ask, what was this one? What number is justice? What number is strength? What number? You know what I mean? So if you are constantly, for fun, and granted, I like to organize, so I like to do this repeatedly. If you are doing that, you will learn the sequence much, much faster, because we learn through repetition. And it's also another way to really bond with your deck, because you are mixing your energy with it, especially if you're doing it while you're enjoying something. Let's say, for instance, oh, I don't know, you're like watching you know, Star Trek or whatever, Witcher, whatever. And you're as you're watching it, you're reordering your decks, and then shuffling, and then reordering your decks. So as you're enjoying that program and your emotions are really good and happy, you are also adding that into your deck. You're transferring that energy, and you're learning your system at the same time. So that was another one. That was number 8. So number 9, you just pick out some decks that you'd like to pair with it, because the pairing with that, and then play with it, you know, see what decks actually you like that work well with it, and then ask yourself, why do you think it works with it? And then start doing exercises with it because you like that. Anything that gets you really with your hands on your deck and gets you playing with your deck more and using your deck is going to help you bond. But it doesn't always have to be just like doing just plain old tarot reading. Obviously, that is the best way to bond with your deck, is just using your deck. But not everybody knows exactly what kind of tarot readings to be doing all the time, you know, because not everybody needs tarot like 24/7 in order to be able to bond with a new deck and use it the way that you want. So find fun spreads to do just for fun, you know, and playing with it and pairing it and stuff like that. And then the last thing, number 10, do a deep study. This includes reading the entire guidebook and journeying through the cards, and then journaling about that if you feel pulled to journaling. Now, I actually have a digital planner that I created that is a tarot study digital planner, which it has all of the linked pages on the front, the table of contents for the major and the minor arcana. You click to it and it takes it to the page where you can write up all the information that you want about that particular card. So studying the deck, writing down what you find, but also journeying. What I mean by journeying is actually go inside of the card. You know, maybe be one of the people that's in that card. Maybe look at the door that's behind you. Maybe smell the flowers that are there. Look at the, you know, the fire that's on there. Who's the friend that you're with? Why are you wearing crowns? Are you celebrating something? You know, actually go inside of that. These are probably a little bit harder to do that with, just because the artwork is so crazy. But like, imagine like the pastoral tarot, okay, which all landscape. So imagine yourself in that field, running your hands over the field of lilacs and lavender, and you know, the farmhouse behind you, and what are you smelling? And just put yourself, is the sun shining? What's just beyond the borders of that tarot deck? Let yourself imagine, you know, see the stories. That's like journeying, and then write down what you think. And then the next time, maybe even do that and write down what you find. You probably will discover that you find different things every time. You know, there's so much to explore in these worlds. You have 78 cards that you can explore with. Obviously, using your tarot deck. But I wanted to do, you know, show you 10 different ways other than just using my, like, decks in my tarot practice, like my monthly medicine and stuff like that. And I would suggest a monthly medicine as well, like over on Boho Tarot. She has this guided monthly medicine that is wonderful. So that will help you to also, if you can't think of how to use your, you know, your cards, and you want to use them more and you want to bond with them more, do a practice like that. You can draw cards, you know, for, you know, the moon cycles, for different events. If you're playing with your cards, you can use them. Like if you're watching TV and you want to see, oh, what's going to happen next. So you draw 3 cards. Show me the story of what's going to happen next, or something like that. You know, there's just lots of things that you can do with your deck. But if you really want to bond with it, just get it out and play with it. Have fun with your deck. You know, set intentions with your deck. And that's it. So what are your favorite ways to bond with your deck? I would love to hear what you have to say. So sending you all love. Thank you.